Back in the summer we looked at foraging fat hen greens and flower buds. Now we can harvest the seeds. The best time to collect the seeds is from late October through to the end of November. This time of year most of its foliage will have died back and you're left with these dried seed spikes. This makes it quite difficult to ID, so it's best to find a patch in summer and then come back to collect the seeds in November. This is a huge patch of fat hen that I found earlier in the year, so I can harvest a good amount of the seeds to store. Fat hen is closely related to quinoa, and the seeds are very similar and can be used in the same way. And fat hen seeds are high in protein and contain many micronutrients including potassium and calcium. To collect the seeds, just strip them off the spike between your thumb and forefinger. You'll be collecting the seeds and the chaff, the papery protective layer. You want to remove the chaff as it contains saponins and you don't want to eat too much of it, though a small amount isn't a problem. You can remove the chaff by winnowing or allowing the wind to blow away the chaff. So first rub the seeds between your hands to break up the chaff. Then drop the seeds into a container, letting the lighter chaff blow away while the heavier seeds drop into the container. Then you're left with these small black seeds. If stored and dried correctly, they should last for years. I've done a video on collecting and cooking the seeds in a bit more detail. I'll leave a link in the description. But when you do want to use the seeds, it's best to soak and rinse them. They've got a small amount of saponins in, so if you don't leach them out, it can give the seeds a bit of a soapy flavour. And just cook them in the same way you cook rice or quinoa. You can also sprout the seeds and use them as a microgreen like cress. These funny looking fruits are medlars. A medlar is a member of the rose family, and you can see its fruits look fairly similar to Japanese rose hips. A medlar is a small tree or large shrub that can grow to around 7 or 8 meters. They have quite large oval leaves that are dark green and have entire or untubed margins. Medlars are quite distinctive looking fruits. They look a bit like crab apples, but they have these 5 persisting sepals. The medlar tree is native to warmer areas around Southeast Europe and Western Asia. In cooler areas like the UK, the fruit will take a long time to fully ripen on the tree, so it's best to pick them around November. The fruits will still be quite hard. You'll need to take them home to be bletted. Bletting is a word that you only really hear around medlar and a few other fruits, and it's basically like a controlled rot. It's allowing the fruit to go overripe and almost fermenting. It sounds more complicated than it is. All you really need to do is to put the fruits in a container and leave them at around room temperature for a couple of weeks, and then the fruit will go soft and sweet and they'll be too hard to eat without bletting. And it's fine to leave them in sunlight, they don't need to be in a dark cupboard. When they're unripe, the flesh will be hard and yellow, and when they're fully bletted, the flesh will go really soft and dark brown. The ripe fruits can be eaten raw or cooked. Medlars are really tasty. When they're cooked out with a bit of sugar, the flavour's fairly similar to toffee apple. They can be used to make jam or a medlar sauce, which is really nice stirred into porridge. I like to puree them and make a medlar and pecan pie, which is delicious. The fruits have fairly large seeds that should be removed. I do this by passing the puree through a sieve. So these medlars have been left for a few weeks now, and you can see some of them are fully bletted. The ones that are soft and dark fleshed are fully ripe, and the ones that are still hard and lighter in colour will probably need another week or so. So what I'm doing with these ripened ones, I'm just going to peel off the skin and then cook out the flesh with some brown sugar and cinnamon, and just add water until you get the texture that you like. And once you've cooked it out for around 10 or 15 minutes, then just allow the mixture to cool down slightly and then pass it for a sieve to remove the seeds. And then you can use this mixture hot or cold. As I said before, it's really nice stirred into porridge, or it's really good with cheese and crackers. Here's another type of seed we can harvest in autumn. These are dock seeds, and I collect these for making flour. The best time to collect the seeds is from around October, and they persist through the winter. Dock is from the same family as buckwheat, and the seeds look fairly similar. The stems and seed heads have a rusty reddish brown colour. There are several species of dock in the UK. They all have edible seeds. The two most common are the curled dock and the broadleaf dock. So these ones are broadleaf dock. In fact, it's still got some leaves at the base of this plant. So if you look at the calyx, or the papery sheath around the seeds, on curled dock they have an entire margin or just a smooth edge, and on these ones, the broadleaf dock, they have teeth on the margins. Now both types are edible anyway, so it doesn't matter too much, but that's how you tell them apart. Dock seeds are really tiny. You'll see it's more chaff than seeds. And the seeds grow in groups of 3, with one of the seeds being slightly bigger than the other 2. Unlike with fat hen seeds, you can eat the chaff of the dock seeds. So when I'm making flour, I'll leave most of the chaff in. Because the seeds are so tiny, you'd need a lot of them to be able to make flour without the chaff being left in. So I've made a video in more detail on how to make dock seed flour. I'll leave the link in the description. Dock seed flour is a little bitter on its own, so I use it mixed with other flours. It's good for adding a bit of extra nutrition mixed into plain flour. It's best for making foods that you don't want to rise, like crackers or flatbreads. And dock seed flour is gluten-free. I talked about eating stinging nettle greens back in the spring, which is the best time to collect them, but you can also get a second flush of them in autumn. And because there's not many good greens to eat this time of year, these can actually be a really good green to pick. When you find young growth of nettles this time of year, it's just where this area has been cut back and the plants are sending up new shoots. As I've said before, you only want to eat nettles when they're very young. And you just want to eat the top section of the plant, the growing tip. That's the most nutritious. And it's important that the plant hasn't started to flower. If you get the stringy flowers on, then the plant is pretty much inedible. It starts producing calcium crystals within the plant, and those crystals can upset the urinary tract if they build up over time. So only eat it if it's young and bright green like this. So these nettles are either sauté with butter or use them in a soup, and cooking the nettles will remove the sting. With the price of food at the moment, even this time of year, you can go out and harvest wild greens.